Trump faced sentence in case of New York. Trump commercial records asked the Supreme Court to intervene after the judge and a court of appeals in New York rejected their attempts to postpone the sentence. The President-elect Donald Trump must be sentenced on January 10 in his case of commercial records, 10 days before his possession. The Supreme Court judge of New York, Juan Merchan, has already indicated that he won't give Trump any prison sentence or monetary punishment. In an order of January 3, Merchan said that his inclination is not impose no prison sentence and that given the concerns about presidential immunity, an unconditional discharge seems to be the most viable solution. Merchan also offered Trump the opportunity to appear virtually instead of personally. With an unconditional discharge, you don't expect Merchan to impose any significant punishment, but you'll probably issue a conviction trial and make a statement condemning Trump's actions. He'll take the opportunity to try to give Trump a whistle, to try to make him look bad, said the Vice President of Heritage Foundation, John Malcolm, to the Epoch Times. Malcolm, who runs Edwin Meese III Center for Legal and Judicial Studies of the foundation, said Merchan can accuse Trump of disrespecting the state of law, but ultimately, don't impose any sentence. Because Trump is about to take over the job. The sentence came after a legal battle of almost 2 years that started with the DA of Manhattan, Alvin Bragg, indicting Trump in April 2023. Over a year later, in May 2024, a jury found Trump guilty of 34 criminal charges of commercial records forgery regarding the alleged payments to the actress of adult films Stephanie Clifford, also known as Stormy Daniels. As the case unfolded, Merchan imposed several orders of silence to Trump, stopped him in contempt 10 times and threatened him with prison sentence. Merchan accused Trump on January 3 of having disdain for the judiciary. Merchan's comments were made because he rejected the idea that Trump's character should serve as a basis to reject the jury's verdict. The defendant disdains the defendant for the third power of the government, whether state or federal, in New York or anywhere else, it's a matter of public record, he said. Actually, the defendant made great efforts to transmit in social media and other forums his lack of respect for judges, juries, great juries, and by the justice system as a whole. Trump denied any irregularity and ridiculed the case as illegitimate. Just before the sentence, he entered several resources to postpone the sentence date and contest the legitimacy of the case. On January 7, a court of appeals from New York denied Trump's request to suspend sentence, and the next day, the president-elect requested the intervention of the U.S. Supreme Court. He entered his request for suspension to the Supreme Court Sonia Sotomayor, who requested an answer from Bragg's office until 10 o'clock on January 9. Later, on the same day, the court rejected Trump's request to interrupt the sentence. Trump asked me to consider whether he has the right to an automatic suspension, as well as the admission of certain evidence by Merchan violated the doctrine of presidential immunity. Another question he proposed was whether the presidential immunity extended to elected presidents, which Merchan had rejected on January 3. Merchan also rejected Trump's arguments that the Supreme Court decision in the Trump v. case United States, who established that presidents come from certain immunity levels against criminal processes, mined Bragg's case. Merchan said in a look like December 16, 2024 that Trump waited long enough to present objections to the use of certain evidence by Bragg, while the evidence he contested was against conduct that was not official and therefore unprotected by the doctrine of presidential immunity. In a publication at The Social Truth on December 17, 2024, Trump criticized Merchan's decisions about the presidential immunity arguments. Merchan had completely disrespected the United States Supreme Court and his historical decision about immunity, he said. The president-elect said that the opinion written by Merchan goes against our Constitution, and if it's kept, it would be the end of the presidency as we know it. Regardless of being sentenced, Trump may later attempt to override the conviction based on presidential immunity or other factors. Trump told several courtesans that he has the right to an automatic suspension due to the nature of presidential immunity, but Merchan and the New York Appeal Division, First Judicial Department, disagreeing, rejecting his appeals. The case of the New York State commercial records is one of the two remaining criminal cases against Trump, since other two, moved by special lawyer Jack Smith, were rejected. After Trump's election victory in November 2024, Smith entered a request to reject the Washington electional interference case and a related resource related to the Florida Confidential Documents Act. The same time as a long-date affirmation of the Justice Department of the lawsuit that the exercise president violates the Constitution. The other remaining criminal case of Trump in Georgia was left on unstable ground last month, when an appeal court decided that the main prosecutor, Fulton County, Fani Willis, should be disqualified. It's not clear how this case is gonna unfold, and legal experts doubt that a state process can continue without violating the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution.